The morning sun filtered through the towering glass windows of Sterling Industries, casting long shadows across the marble lobby. Victoria Sterling walked through the entrance with her usual commanding presence, her heels clicking rhythmically against the polished floor. At 32, she had built an empire that others could only dream of, but her success had come at a price. Her heart had grown as cold as the steel and glass that surrounded her daily. Behind the reception desk, Patricia looked up from her computer screen, expecting another routine morning. The lobby buzzed with the familiar sounds of employees hurrying to their desks, coffee cups in hand, phones buzzing with urgent messages. But something unusual caught her attention. A small figure stood near the reception desk, barely tall enough to see over the counter. Emma Thompson, 7 years old, with bright brown eyes and pigtails tied with yellow ribbons, clutched a worn teddy bear in one arm and a crumpled piece of paper in the other. Her dress was clean, but clearly second-hand, and her shoes showed signs of wear that spoke of careful use. "Excuse me," Emma said in a voice that was both brave and trembling. "I'm here about my daddy's job." Patricia leaned forward, confused. "Where is your daddy?" Emma's lower lip quivered slightly. "He's at home. He's been sitting in his chair for 3 days, just staring at the wall. He doesn't smile anymore, and he forgot to make me breakfast yesterday." She held up the crumpled paper. "This is his work badge. Thought maybe if I brought it back, he could come to work again." The lobby began to quiet as nearby employees noticed the unusual scene. There was something about the child's earnestness that made people stop and listen. Her innocence cut through the corporate atmosphere like a ray of sunlight through storm clouds. Victoria had just stepped out of the elevator when she noticed the gathering crowd. She approached with her usual efficiency, expecting to resolve whatever minor disruption was occurring. But when she saw Emma standing there, something unexpected happened. The child's eyes met hers, and for a moment, Victoria felt a crack in the wall she had built around her heart. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Victoria asked, her voice softer than anyone had heard it in years. "Ma Thompson," the girl replied, standing straighter with renewed confidence. "My daddy is Marcus Thompson. He used to work here, but something bad happened, and now he's very sad." Victoria's expression remained neutral, but inside, she felt a stirring of something she hadn't experienced in years. Compassion. She knelt down to Emma's level, her expensive suit forgotten as she focused entirely on the child.
"Tell me about..."
"Your daddy, Emma?" Emma's eyes brightened. "He's the best daddy in the whole world. He makes me pancakes on Sunday mornings, and he reads me stories every night. He taught me how to ride my bike, and he always says I'm his little princess." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "But now he just sits there, and sometimes I see him crying when he thinks I'm not looking." Victoria stood slowly, her mind racing. She had built Sterling Industries on the principle of results over relationships. But this child's words were challenging everything she thought she knew about leadership and responsibility. "Patricia, please arrange for Emma to have some juice and cookies in the small conference room," Victoria said, her voice carrying an authority that brooked no argument. "And find Marcus Thompson's employment file immediately." As Emma was gently led away, still clutching her teddy bear, Victoria felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just about business anymore. A 7-year-old girl had just walked into her world and reminded her that behind every employee number was a human being with a story, with people who depended on them, with hearts that could break. The investigation was about to begin, and Victoria Sterling was about to discover that sometimes the most important business decisions have nothing to do with profit margins, and everything to do with the human heart. Victoria's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard as she pulled up Marcus Thompson's employment file. The fluorescent lights of her office hummed overhead, but she barely noticed. Her focus was entirely on the screen before her, where a story of injustice was beginning to unfold. Marcus Thompson, age 31, had been a financial analyst in the accounting department for 3 years. His performance reviews were consistently excellent, with supervisors noting his attention to detail and unwavering integrity. He had been promoted twice and had never received a single disciplinary action. Then, abruptly, his employment had been terminated just 4 days ago. The reason listed was failure to meet department standards. But Victoria's experienced eye caught the discrepancies immediately. The termination had been processed by James Crawford, the department manager, without the usual documentation or review process. Something wasn't right. Victoria picked up her phone and dialed James's extension. "James, I need to see you in my office immediately." 20 minutes later, James Crawford sat across from Victoria's desk, his expensive suit and perfectly styled hair masking the nervousness in his eyes. He was a man who had climbed the corporate ladder through charm and cunning rather than competence. "James, I'm reviewing the termination of Marcus Thompson. Walk me through the decision." James shifted uncomfortably. Thompson was becoming problematic. He questioned legitimate business practices and was undermining team morale. I felt it was best to let him go before he caused more damage. Victoria's eyes narrowed. What specific business practices did he question? Nothing major, just some accounting procedures. He was being overly cautious, slowing down our processes. James's voice grew more defensive. "I made a judgment call for the good of the company." Victoria studied him carefully. In her years of running Sterling Industries, she had learned to read people, and James was clearly hiding something. "I'll be conducting a full review of this case. You're dismissed." After James left, Victoria made a decision that surprised even herself. She was going to visit Marcus Thompson personally. The address in Marcus's file led Victoria to a modest apartment building in a working-class neighborhood. The contrast with her penthouse was stark, but she found herself oddly comfortable as she climbed the stairs to the third floor. When Marcus opened the door, Victoria was struck by the weariness in his eyes. He was tall and lean, with dark hair that needed a trim and stubble that suggested he hadn't bothered to shave in days. But even in his disheveled state, there was something about him that drew her attention, a quiet strength that reminded her of her own father. "Miss Sterling," Marcus said, his voice filled with surprise and confusion. What are you doing here?" "Your daughter came to see me today," Victoria replied gently. "She's worried about you." Marcus's eyes filled with pain. "Emma did what?" "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I don't know how she even got to your building. He ran a hand through his hair, struggling for words. "May I come in? I'd like to talk." Marcus's small apartment was clean but sparse. A child's drawings covered the refrigerator, and toys were neatly arranged in one corner. It was clear that despite his struggles, Marcus was a devoted father who put Emma's needs first. "I know what James Crawford did to you," Victoria said once they were seated. "I know he terminated you for refusing to falsify financial reports." Marcus looked up sharply. "How did you—" "I've been investigating. James wanted you to manipulate the quarterly numbers to hide some department overspending. When you refused, he found a way to get rid of you." Marcus's shoulders sagged with relief. "I thought no one would believe me. James is well-connected, charming. I'm just a single father trying to make ends meet." Victoria felt her heart clench at the defeat in his voice. "Tell me about Emma's mother?" Marcus's expression grew distant. "Rachel died in a car accident 2 years ago. It was just the two of us after that. This job, it wasn't just about the money. It was about being able to provide for Emma, to give her the stability she deserves. And now I don't know what we're going to do. I've been applying everywhere, but without references from my last job." He trailed off, then looked at Victoria with sudden intensity. "Why are you here? Why do you care?" Victoria found herself unable to answer immediately. The truth was, she wasn't entirely sure herself. Something about Emma's innocence and Marcus's integrity had awakened something in her that she thought had died years ago. Because your daughter reminded me of something. I had forgotten," she said finally, "that this company isn't just about profit. It's about people." Marcus studied her face, searching for deception, but finding only sincerity. "What happens now?" Victoria stood, her decision made. "Now, I'm going to fix this. James Crawford will be terminated, and you'll be reinstated with full back pay. I don't want charity. ... It's not charity. It's justice." Victoria paused at the door. And Marcus, "Thank you for reminding me what integrity looks like." As she walked back to her car, Victoria felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Hope that she could be better. that Sterling Industries could be better, and that maybe, just maybe, she had found something worth fighting for. The Sterling Industries boardroom had witnessed many tense moments over the years, but the atmosphere that morning was particularly charged. Victoria sat at the head of the long mahogany table, her expression calm, but her eyes blazing with determination. Across from her, James Crawford fidgeted with his expensive pen, unaware that his career was about to come to an abrupt end. "James, I've completed my investigation into the Marcus Thompson termination," Victoria began, her voice steady and professional. "I've discovered some very interesting inconsistencies." James forced a confident smile. "I'm sure any concerns can be easily explained." Victoria slid a folder across the table. "These are copies of emails from 3 different clients questioning discrepancies in their financial reports that Marcus Thompson flagged as inaccurate before his termination." Smile faltered as he opened the folder. "I'm not sure I understand." "You understand perfectly." Victoria's voice grew colder. "You asked Marcus to falsify these reports to hide your department's overspending. When he refused, you fabricated reasons to terminate him." The room fell silent, except for the quiet hum of the air conditioning. James's face had gone pale, his hands trembling slightly as he closed the folder. "You have no proof of intent. ... I have Marcus's integrity, which is worth more than all your charm combined." Victoria stood, her presence commanding the room. "You're terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you out." As James was led away, Victoria felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Justice had been served, but her work was far from over. Later that afternoon, Victoria found herself standing outside Marcus's apartment again. But this time Emma answered the door. The little girl's face lit up with joy when she saw her. "Miss Victoria, you came back." Emma threw her arms around Victoria's legs, and for a moment, the powerful CEO felt overwhelmed by the child's unconditional affection. "Hello, sweetheart. Is your daddy home?" Marcus appeared in the doorway, his appearance much improved from the previous day. He had shaved and was wearing clean clothes, though his eyes still held a guarded expression. "I wanted to tell you in person," Victoria said. "James Crawford has been terminated. Your job is waiting for you, with full back pay and a formal apology from the company." Marcus's eyes filled with disbelief. "You really did it. I told you I would." Victoria paused, then added softly, "I was hoping you might consider having dinner with me tonight, to celebrate." Emma clapped her hands together. "Oh yes, Daddy, say yes." Marcus looked between his daughter and Victoria, seeing something in the CEO's eyes that he hadn't expected. Vulnerability? Yes, I'd like that. They chose a small restaurant in the neighborhood, far from the corporate dining rooms Victoria usually frequented. As they sat in the cozy booth, Emma chattering happily between them, Victoria felt more relaxed than she had in years. "You know," Marcus said as Emma colored on her placemat, "I never expected the CEO of Sterling Industries to be sitting in Tony's family restaurant." Victoria smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. "Neither did I, but I'm finding that expectations can be overrated." As the evening progressed, Victoria found herself drawn to Marcus's gentle humor and unwavering devotion to Emma. He told her stories of their life together, of bedtime routines and weekend adventures, of the small moments that make up a meaningful existence. "What about you?" Marcus asked, as Emma dozed against his shoulder. "What's your story?" Victoria's expression grew thoughtful. "I built Sterling Industries from the ground up after my father's company went bankrupt. I swore I would never let anyone hurt me the way his business partners hurt him. So I built walls, made myself untouchable. That sounds lonely," Victoria admitted, surprised by her own honesty. "But I convinced myself it was necessary." Marcus reached across the table and gently touched her hand. "Maybe it was then, but it doesn't have to be now." The simple contact sent electricity through Victoria's entire being. She looked into Marcus's eyes and saw acceptance, understanding, and something that made her heart race. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of this small family, she realized that all her success meant nothing if she had no one to share it with. "I'd like to see you again," she whispered. Marcus's smile was like sunshine breaking through clouds. "I'd like that too." As they walked back to his apartment, Emma safely asleep in Marcus's arms, Victoria felt a transformation beginning within. Her, the cold, calculating CEO, was giving way to something warmer, more human. She was learning that sometimes the greatest victories weren't won in boardrooms, but in the quiet moments when two hearts find their way to each other. Standing on the sidewalk outside his building, Marcus shifted Emma to one arm and turned to face Victoria. "Thank you for everything. Thank you for reminding me what really matters." Marcus leaned down and kissed her cheek, a gentle gesture that promised more to come. As Victoria drove home that night, she couldn't stop smiling. Emma Thompson had walked into her life asking for her father's job, but she had given Victoria something far more valuable, a chance at happiness. 3 weeks had passed since that evening at Tony's family restaurant, and Victoria's life had taken on a rhythm she never could have imagined. Her penthouse apartment, once a symbol of her success and isolation, now felt incomplete without the sound of Emma's laughter echoing through its halls. Victoria stood in her kitchen, attempting to make pancakes while Emma sat on a stool beside her, flour dusting both their faces. The sight of the powerful CEO struggling with something as simple as breakfast would have shocked her business associates, but Victoria had never been happier. "You're doing it wrong," Emma giggled, reaching over to add more milk to the batter. "Daddy makes them fluffy." "Well, maybe your daddy can teach me," Victoria said. Just as Marcus emerged from the guest room where he had spent the night for the first time, he wore one of Victoria's oversized shirts. His hair was tousled from sleep. The past 3 weeks had been a delicate dance of growing intimacy. Marcus had returned to work at Sterling Industries, but Victoria had been careful to keep their personal relationships separate from business. Their evenings together had become precious, filled with quiet dinners, walks in the park, and long conversations that stretched late into the night. "Good morning, beautiful," Marcus said, wrapping his arms around Victoria from behind and kissing her neck softly. The gesture was intimate and natural. Speaking of a relationship that had deepened beyond their initial attraction, Emma clapped her hands. "Are you going to kiss her on the lips now? That's what people do in movies when they love each other." Victoria and Marcus exchanged a look over Emma's head. The word love hung in the air between them, unspoken but increasingly present in their interactions. "What do you think, Emma?" Marcus asked playfully. "Should I kiss Victoria?" "Yes," Emma shouted, bouncing on her stool. Marcus turned Victoria in his arms, his eyes searching her face. "Is that okay with you?" Instead of answering, Victoria rose on her toes and kissed him, her hands tangling in his hair. It was a kiss that spoke of longing and tenderness, of two people who had found something worth fighting for.
Ow.
When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "Love you," Marcus whispered against her lips. "I love you too," Victoria replied, the words feeling both terrifying and liberating. Later that day, Victoria made a decision that would have seemed impossible just a month earlier. She took the afternoon off work and accompanied Marcus and Emma to the city amusement park. Watching Victoria scream with delight on the roller coaster, her perfectly styled hair whipping in the wind, Marcus felt his heart swell with love.
This
Woman had risked everything to give him back his dignity, and now she was transforming before his eyes from an untouchable CEO into someone who could find joy in simple pleasures. "Daddy, look," Emma called from the carousel, waving at them as her painted horse rose and fell. "Victoria, wave at me." Victoria waved enthusiastically, her face glowing with happiness. When Emma's ride ended, she ran to them, throwing her arms around both adults. "This is the best day ever," Emma declared. "I wish we could be a family forever." Victoria's breath caught. The word family had never held much meaning for her, but now it represented everything she wanted. That evening, after Emma had fallen asleep in Victoria's guest room, Marcus and Victoria sat on the terrace of her penthouse, the city lights twinkling below them. Victoria had changed into a simple silk nightgown, her business armor completely abandoned. "I never thought I could have this," Victoria said, curled against Marcus's side. "I convinced myself that success was enough." Marcus's hand traced patterns on her arm. "And now, I know that all the money in the world can't replace the feeling of Emma hugging me, or the way you look at me like I'm the most important person in your world." Marcus turned to face her, his eyes dark with emotion. You are the most important person in my world. Both of you are everything to me." Victoria's heart raced as Marcus's hand cupped her face. "I want to be with you, Marcus. Really be with you." "Art, you sure?" Instead of answering, Victoria took his hand and led him to her bedroom. The room was elegant but impersonal until Marcus stepped into it. Suddenly it felt like home. Their lovemaking was tender and passionate, a culmination of weeks of growing intimacy. Victoria had never felt so cherished, so completely accepted. In Marcus's arms, she wasn't a CEO or a businesswoman. She was simply Victoria, a woman in love. Afterward, they lay entwined in the moonlight streaming through the windows, talking in whispers about their hopes and dreams. "I want to give Emma everything," Victoria said, her head on Marcus's chest. "I want to be a good mother to her." "You already are," Marcus replied, pressing a kiss to her hair. "She adores you, and I adore her, both of you." Victoria lifted her head to look at him. "Marcus, I know this is fast, but I want us to be a real family. I want to marry you." Marcus's eyes widened with surprise and joy. "Are you asking me to marry you?" Victoria laughed, feeling giddy with happiness. "I guess I am. What do you say?" Marcus rolled her onto her back, kissing her deeply. "I say yes, 1,000 times yes." As they held each other close, both knew that their journey together was just beginning. They had found something rare and precious in each other, and they were determined to nurture it into something beautiful and lasting. The CEO, who had once believed that love was a weakness, had discovered that it was actually the greatest strength of all. 6 months later, Victoria stood in her office, no longer the cold, isolated woman who had once ruled Sterling Industries with an iron fist. Her desk now held 2 framed photos, one of her and Marcus on their engagement day, and another of Emma, wearing Victoria's reading glasses, pretending to be a business lady. Marcus knocked on her door, entering with a cup of coffee and a smile that still made her heart skip a beat. As her new director of financial operations, he had proven himself invaluable to the company, implementing ethical practices that had actually increased profits while maintaining integrity. "The board meeting is in 10 minutes, he said, setting the coffee on her desk. "Are you ready?" Victoria nodded, though she felt nervous. Today she would be announcing their engagement to the board, and she knew not everyone would be pleased. Corporate relationships, especially between a CEO and an employee, were always scrutinized. "Whatever happens," Marcus said, taking her hand, "we'll face it together." The boardroom was filled with the usual suspects, elderly men and expensive suits who had known Victoria since she was a young woman, fighting to save her father's legacy. Their faces showed a mixture of curiosity and concern as Victoria took her place at the head of the table. "Before we begin today's agenda," Victoria announced, "I have a personal announcement. Marcus Thompson and I are engaged to be married." The room erupted in murmurs. Board member Harold Whitman, a stern man in his 70s, cleared his throat. "Victoria, while we're happy for your personal happiness, we must consider the company's reputation. A CEO marrying an employee creates ... complications." "Harold," Victoria said calmly, "Marcus has proven himself an exemplary leader. His department has shown record efficiency and ethical standards. Our relationship doesn't compromise his work, it enhances it. But the perception is that Sterling Industries values both professional excellence and human dignity," Victoria interrupted. "Marcus was wrongfully terminated by a corrupt manager. I corrected that injustice. Everything else is between us." Marcus stood, his voice steady and confident. "I appreciate your concerns, but I want to make it clear that I've never received preferential treatment. Every promotion, every responsibility I've been given has been earned through merit. Victoria has always maintained the highest professional standards." Board member Margaret Chen, the only other woman on the board, smiled. "I think it's refreshing to see our CEO happy. Victoria, you've been all business for so long. It's balanced. Seems to be good for you." Victoria felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you, Margaret. It has been good for me. And for the company." The meeting continued, and while there were still concerns, the overall reaction was more positive than Victoria had expected. As the board members filed out, Harold approached her, Victoria, I've watched you grow from that fierce young woman who took over your father's company. You've always been formidable, but now you seem ... complete. I am complete, Harold. For the first time in my life. That evening, Victoria arrived home to find the penthouse transformed. Emma had convinced Marcus to help her decorate for a surprise party, and the living room was filled with balloons, streamers, and hand-drawn signs reading, "Congratulations, Mommy, Victoria," wearing a princess dress and a tiara. "Surprise! We're celebrating because you're going to be my real mommy." Victoria scooped Emma into her arms, tears of joy streaming down her face. "You're going to be my real daughter too, sweetheart." Marcus appeared from the kitchen, wearing an apron and carrying a homemade cake. "I hope you don't mind, but someone insisted on a celebration." "I love it," Victoria said, kissing him as Emma giggled in her arms. "I love all of it." 1 month. Later, Victoria stood in a simple white dress on the beach outside the city, the ocean breeze playing with her hair. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family, but it felt perfect. Emma stood beside her as maid of honor, wearing a yellow dress that matched her bright smile. Marcus looked handsome in his navy suit, his eyes never leaving Victoria's face as she walked down the sandy aisle. When she reached him, he took her hands and whispered, "You're beautiful." "You're not so bad yourself," she whispered back, making him laugh. The ceremony was simple, but meaningful. When the minister asked if they took each other as husband and wife, their I do's were heard over the sound of the waves. As they kissed, Emma cheered loudly, causing everyone to laugh. "I now pronounce you husband and wife, and Emma, you now have a new mommy," the minister announced, causing Emma to run to them for a group hug. As they celebrated on the beach, Victoria reflected on how much her life had changed.
Oh, Emma's innocent.
Request for her father's job had led to the most important discovery of Victoria's life, that success without love is hollow. But love with the right person can make everything else meaningful. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus asked, finding her standing alone at the edge of the water. "I'm thinking about how a 7-year-old girl changed my entire world," Victoria replied, watching Emma build sandcastles with the other children. "She changed mine too," Marcus said, wrapping his arms around his wife from behind. "She brought me you." Victoria leaned back against him, feeling complete for the first time in her life. "I used to think that being vulnerable was weakness. Now I know it's the greatest strength of all. And I used to think that good things didn't happen to people like me," Marcus replied. "Now I know that sometimes they do," as the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Victoria Sterling Thompson stood with her new family and knew that she had found something worth more than all the money in the world, a love that would last forever. Emma ran to them, her dress sandy and her face glowing with happiness. "Mommy Victoria, Daddy, can we come to the beach every day now?" Victoria laughed, scooping up her daughter. "We can do whatever makes us happy, sweetheart. We're a family." Now, and as they walked hand in hand along the shore, Victoria knew that the best part of her story was just beginning.